Hello everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. I'm Fantastodon, and I am excited to bring you this race between Jexvrok and jefe01. This is a draft race between two very talented runners, and as you can see from the start screen here, it's going to be a big one. We have 8 required characters, 16 required espers to get into Kefka's tower, 12 and 18 respectively to skip to the statues, so these are above average requirements for a seed, which means we'll see more of the map, we'll see more checks, we'll see more boss fights, we'll just get more of everything. And more chance for these very talented runners to show us their skills as they progress through this seed. And here we are getting started. It is, I believe, a 4-character start. That's right. Locke, Celis, Strago, Go-Go, all with pretty underwhelming skills, to be honest. I believe one of the draft flags in this race is weaker skills, so we won't be seeing a lot of blitz commands, sword tech, throw, none of that fun stuff. We're dealing with a lot of GP rain, steal, and whatnot, as we see Jefe working through Locke's first check here in Ruined Narsh, checking out an interesting option right off the bat, Valiant Knife or Fixed Dice, 2 very powerful weapons. Interestingly, Fixed Dice, probably strongest in the early to mid game. Valiant Knife doesn't really come online until late game, so it looks like both runners making the choice of taking that early strength, also finding a Cursed Shield that only requires 4 battles to uncurse, so that is a very welcome find. 4 battles will turn that Cursed Shield into the Paladin Shield, by far the best defensive item in the game, and we'll certainly see both runners uncursing that. That will be an early priority for them. But as I was saying, weaker commands is one of the draft flags in this race, so it'll be a showcase for our runners' game knowledge, how to make the use of some of these less popular skill sets, and of course a test of how they can use the magic they find, the gear they find, to really get the most out of these characters. Looks like Jex shifting up the party a bit, gonna do Go-Go's check early on, head down into the Zone Eater's cave. This is a not the most popular check in the game. It's a little tricky, a little annoying, as we see Jefe blowing up scholars in the tutorial house. One of the other optional draft flags we have on is the very wacky Y NPC remove flag. It's something that added in Worlds Collide sort of as a joke, but has become very popular in certain races. You press the Y button and NPCs go poof. It makes pathing a lot easier and actually allows for some logic breaks doing checks that you may not otherwise have the requirements for. I'm sure we'll see some of that as the seed goes on. But as I mentioned, Jex, working through the Zone Eater Cave, has 2 very not difficult, but irritating elements to work with. One of these conductors on these rickety wooden bridges that will just knock you off into the pit below. Can be very frustrating. You get knocked down a few times. Bit of a time loss, but as we see Jex, almost navigating smoothly, does get knocked down. As a consolation prize, we'll check those 2 treasure chests down there. Meanwhile, Jefe took on a monster in a box very early on, finding a Spectre. Probably fortunate for him, wouldn't want to tangle with one of the more difficult monsters in a box this early on. And in fact, the Spectre proves a bit too much. That's an early restart from Jefe. Jex determined to check that treasure chest. Finds a cursed ring for his troubles. Not the greatest reward in the game, but he is through the rickety bridge portion of the game and now is facing off against the instant death collapsing roof section. Did not save beforehand, so very bold to work through this element of the Zone Eater's Cave, which again will just give you an instant game over if you get crushed. But Jex, far too talented a runner to fall prey to that, is through. We will get to see what is at the end of Go-Go's cave in just a bit, as Jefe is working through Ruined South Figaro, doing one of the very popular early town checks to pick up the loot in the very treasure-rich South Figaro. And of course check some early shops as well. Looks like Jex found an Esper, so that is an early Esper for him. Again, with these weaker character commands, it is really going to be reliant, these runners will be reliant a bit more on gear and, again, powerful Espers that offer some useful spells early on. Jex putting his party back together. He, of course, winnowed his party down to 1 to make the Zone Eater battle itself easier. Zone Eater will engulf your characters one at a time, so having a party of 1 makes that battle a bit faster. Maduin was the Esper he picked up, has Strength +1, would be nice for a physical attacker, and then has the Quake spell, which is situationally useful, but probably won't see a lot of use early on in this seed. Jex now working through Balanced Narsh to open the very rich, treasure-rich storehouse. Finds a gem box, very popular vanilla item, not quite as popular here in Worlds Collide, but they're probably most excited for it because it will sell for a lot of money. And with the randomized shops here in the Worlds Collide randomizer, getting an early infusion of cash can be really helpful to pick up some very nice gear to get kickstarted early on in this seed. Jefe, meanwhile, working his way down to the South Figaro basement. We'll get to do one of Celis's early checks. Finds an offering in a random treasure chest. That is a very nice find, especially with those early fixed dice. Offering, of course, turns fight into X-Fight. You will attack 4 times at half strength. But certain weapons work a little bit differently, fixed dice being one of them, so it is a very popular pairing with Offering. That is a very powerful combination to have early on. Celis's check itself was a dead check, not offering a character or an Esper, but offering the always coveted Minerva armor. Probably the best piece of armor in the game, certainly my favorite piece of armor in the game, offers just a ton of elemental immunities, very high defense. Always happy to see one of those. Will make a lot of boss fights much, much easier. Oh my goodness. Jefe also finding a paladin shield randomly. So South Figaro basement is stacked Figaro. That is a lot of high-end gear early on. All the good things I said about Minerva just now apply double to the paladin's shield. It is a bonkers strong defensive item. And that is basically 2 characters' equipment needs taken care of for the rest of this seed. Also finding a Force Shield, just a cherry on top. Another very strong shield. And meanwhile, Jex showing off a little bit of game knowledge, knowing that Spectre in the Monster in the Box is an undead enemy, and all undead enemies will die instantly to a Phoenix Down or a Revivify item. So a very quick fight for Jex. Now getting a little high five for the runners as they both head into the Returner's hideout. Do a bit more early looting. Of course, Jex doesn't know just how stacked the South Figaro basement is. Hopefully he'll make it there sooner rather than later. Will be interesting to see how both these runners work out their routing throughout this seed, because as mentioned earlier, the Y remove flag does allow you to sequence break a little bit. You can head up Mount Zozo without having Cyan in the party. You can head to the Magitek factory without having Celis in the party, though of course in this case they already have Celis. But it can open some convenient checks, some checks that you would like to do before others if only you have the character. And with Y remove, you don't always need the character. But for now, we will mostly be working on early looting, perhaps taking a random encounter or two to level up a bit. Your characters do start at level 3 with base equipment, and that is pretty much useless. You don't really want to be level 3. Any other level is better. Obviously, the higher the better. And of course, getting some gear. Speaking of gear, Jefe also finding a Valiant Knife, another fantastic late-game weapon. Also a Snow Muffler in South Figaro. South Figaro just has all the goods. Also finds offerings for sale in the Relic Shop, so wow, South Figaro might just be the one-stop shop for all of your gear needs. Also has earrings, very useful to boost magic damage, which will very likely be a factor, as again, won't have very powerful character commands to rely on. We'll definitely be hoping for some magical power sooner rather than later. Both runners finding some magical power in the form of Thunder Rods. Thunder Rods are weapons that you can break from your inventory to cast a defense-ignoring max damage Bolt 2 spell. And yes, that is just as powerful and useful as it sounds. So unsurprised to find Jefe grabbing a stack of those. Doesn't look like Jex picked one up yet. Perhaps he's working out his whole shopping routine before blowing the rest of his money on those rods. We do see him picking up that offering. So yeah, I would say not a lot to complain about for these runners early on. Both finding fixed dice, which obviously it is, luck of the dice how much damage they do, but getting a few good rolls will definitely clear out some early bosses for you, particularly with the offering to roll those dice 4 times in a row. Valiant Knife for late game just can do incredible, incredible damage. Great defense, a Paladin Shield in hand already, and another one in the form of the Curse Shield, which will turn into the Paladin Shield after 4 short random encounters. Jex, working through the basement right now, will be very happy with what he finds, as Jefe looks like is going to be taking on our first boss of this seed, working through Figaro Cave, one of Locke's checks. Be interesting to see if perhaps he takes a few battles to grind a bit near this recovery spring, or instead, just going to head straight into this boss fight. Get to see our first boss of this race. Ooh, and it's a big one. Doom. Doom, of course, one of the endgame statue boss fights. Probably not what Jefe was hoping to see this early on. Using a sniper offering build on Locke, who is now dead. We'll see if Jefe can pull this one out. Not a ton of HP to work with on his side. Is breaking a Pearl Rod, which, similar to the Thunder Rod, will do a Pearl spell attack. Doom casting Northern Cross. One of my favorite lines in the game, "You'd best be frozen." And indeed, Gogo is frozen. He'll be out of action for a little bit. Setzer slinging those dice, though. Getting some good numbers on those dice. That is a lot of damage for this low level of a party. Unfortunately, Setzer's now down. But he has gotten Doom to phase 2. When Doom starts glowing like that, he'll start casting the Force Field spell, which will begin to negate certain elements, which not really a factor for a weapon like the fixed dice. But looks like Jefe not trying to bring Strego or Locke back up, just trying to power through with these Thunder Rods. Has 2 rods in hand. Has Doom Darts. Does think better of bringing Strego back up. I think that's a smart move. Fixed dice offering can really save your skin in a lot of fights, especially early on like this. Gogo gets smacked by a Demon Rage. So he's down, but Strego is up. Can he finish the job? Meanwhile, Jex making the difficult decisions of what gear to put where. Again, it just has a wealth of options. Sort of spoiled for choice this early in the seed, with Minerva's Paladin Shields, Snow Mufflers, and the like. Jefe tosses another rod at Doom. Doom is still up. Cella's with 2 clutch blocks there. Again, this powerful gear showing why it's so useful. Getting some good rolls on these dice. Not enough, but Strago blocks the hit. Another rod goes out, and Doom goes down. So that was a very cutthroat fight with Jefe, sort of on the edge of his seat the whole time, but takes down a statue boss very early on, is rewarded with a fat chunk of experience, of course only on the 2 living characters. Also earns a piece of Magitek for his trouble, so Jefe now has his first Esper. It is the Ifrit Esper. It is also Strength +1, but it has the much more useful Vanish and Flare spells. Jex, meanwhile, working through Figaro Cave as well, but looks like he will be taking a few random encounters by the Recovery Spring to boost his levels a little bit before taking on what we know, of course, to be a very scary Doom fight. Jefe now doing some shopping on the airship, grabbing those essential consumables that you will need throughout the run. Looks like Jefe staying in the world of balance, so we'll see where he goes next. It is the Opera House, another Cella's check. A check that has quite a few random encounters in it, which probably a smart play this early on to take some random fights early, boost your levels. Obviously that is what Jex is doing in Figaro Cave, but Jefe hoping to sort of take care of 2 things at once, working through a check, which of course can reward a character or Esper, and also taking on some random encounters to get those levels up. Particularly important for, well, obviously important for everything really, you always want higher levels, but particularly important for his fixed dice user. Fixed dice, again, are mostly random, but I believe primarily scale with character level. So the higher level Strago is, or whoever his... Uh-oh, Jefe, you gotta unlock that door first. Oh, I guess not, with, again, why NPC remove showing its head once again. A lot of locked doors in Final Fantasy VI are actually invisible NPCs standing in front of the door. And with Y NPC remove, you can of course remove that invisible NPC, so no need for Jefe to take the long walk to unlock the door. He can just Y remove. Meanwhile, Jex finding a fight, a random encounter that you don't really want to take. These veterans particularly are pretty scary enemies, though he does take one down, so good for Jex. We'll reap the rewards and experience for that fight. These veteran Daedalus fights are ones that I usually tend to avoid, but they're no match for Jex, and of course with the recovery spring right there, he will hop back to full health. Jefe's Locke now wearing the cursed shield, hoping to uncurse it. I do believe Locke, has to be alive at the end of the fight for it to count as a clear. So, one missed opportunity there, but again, only takes 4 fights to uncurse that shield, so I'm sure we will see that done in short order as Jex takes on his statue boss, runs into Doom. Though, as you may have noticed, when Doom casts that ice spell, 2 of his characters absorb ice. Probably with the Paladin Shield and Snow Muffler. So again, this really top tier gear they found in the early game is going to serve them well. Jex taking a similar tack to Jefe, chucking that poison or pearl rod at Doom. Doing 5k, my goodness, and Doom is down. That is a huge chunk of damage this early on, in the not even 20 minutes into the seed, and dropping 5,000. That is a quick cleanup by Jex, and he also finds his Ifrit Esper. As we see dice user Strago on Jefe's screen showing why the fixed dice offering combo is such a classic. Just melting those bear enemies. And looks like Jefe making it a priority to uncurse this shield. Obviously, 1 Paladin shield is good, 2 is twice as good. So I would love to get that fantastic defensive item unlocked for him. I hesitate to say it makes characters unkillable. It does not do that, but it's pretty dang close. Jex, meanwhile, finding Valiant Knives for sale in Vector. So this seed just lousy with V-Knives. I'm sure both runners going to keep that in the back of their mind, particularly with offerings for sale in South Figaro. And does pick up the V-Knife. Again, once these characters get enough levels and get enough HP under their belt, the Valiant Knife offering combo will be even more effective than fixed dice offering. But Jex heading into one of my favorite areas of the game, the Magitek factory. Very cool area. It's got some sweet music, which hopefully we'll hear once Jefe makes it there. Has some fun checks, has some pretty convenient checks, as you see these few treasure chests basically in your way as you take a ride down these conveyor belts. Jefe, meanwhile, is through the random encounters of the opera fight. We'll see who he takes on. And it is Umaro, the incredible dabbing Yeti. Umaro can hit pretty hard, as we see Block using those sniper weapons. Very cool weapons. Do bonus damage against flying creatures, which Umaro, of course, is not, but many more enemies than you think are flying in this game. So the sniper can really do work. Jefe did work. Umaro is already down. That is a quick fight for Jefe, and we will see what the Opera House offers him as a reward as Jex takes on the first boss in the Magitek factory, and it's the Three Stooges. Ooh. Not a fun fight, kind of an annoying fight, and actually a bit more annoying considering so many of his attackers are using offerings, so you can't target your hits. In the Stooge fight, you want to take out the top Stooge, Curly, first, or else Curly will cast Life 2 on any of the other Stooges, bringing them right back up. So looks like Jex hoping for some lucky dice hits, unfortunately exclusively targeting the lower two Stooges. Though he does have Ice 3, that will do work on the Fire Elemental top Stooge. As we see Curly casting Life 2, brings his fellow Stooge back to life. But I expect to see big numbers out of this Ice 3. Yes, indeed, Curly's down. That makes the fight much more manageable. Bringing Locke back up. Should be able to clean up this fight. Jefe, meanwhile, found an Esper from the Opera House. So, both runners still working with their starting 4 characters. Buys another Snow Muffler because not enough good gear in this seed, maybe. In fact, Jefe just has that Minerva collecting dust in his inventory. A little surprised to see that. But again, spoiled for choice in terms of good gear. So not too worried about his party's ability to survive. Looks like Jex has his Strago swinging a Valiant Knife. Valiant Knife, another one of those very powerful weapons when paired with Offering. There are a few weapons in the game that sort of break the formula, the weapon damage formula. Fixed Dice is one of them. Valiant Knife is another one. They don't operate the way other weapons do. So among their many strengths, they ignore defense. So you can roll dice at anything, you can swing a V-Knife at anything, and eventually it will go down. And they don't have their damage reduced by the Offering Relic. Normally, Offering turns your fight into X-Fight, so you swing 4 times instead of 1, but each of those swings does half damage. V-Knife, Fixed Dice, Atma Weapon, and maybe 1 or 2 others ignore that, and so are extremely strong when paired with the extremely strong Offering Relic. And so I expect we'll see Jex and Jefe utilizing these weapons and these relics to their utmost throughout this seed. Should point out, just for the record, I am recording this after the fact, so I did not watch this live, but I believe Jefe will commentate a bit. I will be, apologies, talking over him. But if you'd like to hear Jefe's commentary, you should definitely check out his Twitch channel, or for that matter, check out Jexvrok's Twitch channel. They are both very active streamers, both constantly putting on shows of high-level Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide play, so I encourage you to check them out. And with apologies to Jefe, I will be more or less ignoring him as we work out the rest of this seed. Jex finding Bahamut, which had some decent spells. Probably the biggest find on Esper so far is that Flare spell. Flare itself is a defense-ignoring spell. So much like the Fixed Dice, cast it on anything, it'll work on anything. It is a great tool to have in your arsenal. As Jex is making his way up to the second Magitek factory check, Jefe working through Thamasa, doing a bit more looting and shopping. It'll be interesting to see. There's always a question when you're working through the Magitek factory, whether you push on through to the third check. And oh my goodness, Jex running into a very scary boss, the Magimaster. Magimaster, arguably the hardest boss in the game, casts a ton of very scary high-level magic, has a very complicated defense, which conveniently Jex has all of the tools to ignore. I was just mentioning those defense-ignoring weapons. Jex has a few of them, and so we'll be able to work around Magimaster's very annoying tactic of casting Wall Change and becoming immune to all but one element per attack. So that is good news for Jex, encountering this very scary boss when he has the tools to take him down. Meanwhile, Jefe working through one of Strago's checks, the Burning House, taking on a few more random encounters. Not a bad idea, still fairly early in the seed. And hopefully get a few sweet sniper procs on some of these flying enemies. Magimaster still hits hard, though, as we see the Flare spell, again, does defense-ignoring damage, or I suppose non-elemental damage. So hitting pretty hard. Though we'll see if Gogo can roll those bones well enough to take him down. Not some good hits so far. That's a little better. And those oh so satisfying sniper procs on Jefe's screen. Such a cool weapon. Not the strongest weapon in the game, but definitely one of the most fun. As Jex is now down half his party, Locke and Strago both on the ground, but Gogo slinging those dice, doing big numbers, and Magimaster is down. That is a big relief for Jex. Magimaster is a very difficult fight, can be a huge roadblock if you don't have the tools to take him down. Fortunately, he does go down, though, funnily enough, Jex doesn't have enough Phoenix Downs to revive his party, so he's going to warp out of there. Guess we're not going to see Magitek 3 and the incredible Indiana Jones minecart thrill ride. Too bad. Jefe, meanwhile, does have a stack of Phoenix Downs, good to see. Is working through Burning House, does have some pretty strong levels. Says level 20 on Locke already, high teens for everyone else. I did see Jefe found an experience egg. Did not catch where he found that, but that is a excellent relic. Will, I believe, double the experience of whoever it's sitting on. So, probably stuck that on Locke. Gonna supercharge Locke, turn him into a very strong Valiant Knife user towards the end of the game. Jex, meanwhile, is actually heading back into the Magitek factory. Love to see this. Just needed a quick revive and heal on the airship, and now he is back to take on Magitek Factory 3, the third check. Certainly my favorite check. It's a bit of a fan favorite. It involves riding along a minecart, taking on some random encounters, taking on 2 boss fights. So it is not the world's quickest check, but it is the only check in the Magitek Factory which may reward a character. And I think this early on in the game, both runners definitely looking for more characters to open up more checks and, of course, to fulfill the requirements to beat the game. Remember, these are above average seed requirements to take on this seed. We need 8 characters, 16 espers. And obviously we're a ways away from that. But Jefe making his way through the tail end of the burning house.
Hey,
see who's hanging out at the end.
Alright, let's go.
Let's go. We have Ultros. Hey! Everyone's favorite 8-legged purple friend. Oof! Sniper procs. Love him. Ultros is a bit of an unofficial mascot of Final Fantasy VI. He's a likable little octopus. He's not going to last very long in the face of all these powerful offering users. Down he goes. But don't worry, you do encounter Ultros 4 times in the vanilla game, so we'll have 3 other opportunities to say hey, tease the octopus, as Jex is taking a ride on the minecart to check out these sweet Mode 7 Super Nintendo graphics. Cutting edge back in, what was it, 1996? Yeah. But as we can see, both runners have leveled up their parties, those fixed dice hitting for much more damage than they were back at that Doom fight.
Guess I have to go do Magitek now.
And these jokers, not too hard for Jex to deal with. Looks like he does have a Valiant Knife on lock. And I think, in fact, Jex has an offering on every character that isn't Cella's? We'll have to double check. But suffice it to say, Very well stocked. Unfortunately, seeing a boss you don't want to see when your main damage is offering users Rexol. Rexol, one of those bosses that's more annoying than dangerous, particularly with the gear that both these runners have. But unfortunately, offering does not discriminate in who it hits. You cannot target it, so we'll be seeing a lot of attacks hitting these little soul savers in front, which, in my opinion, just have irritatingly long death and respawn animations. So really want to get as much damage as possible on Rexol, because hitting those soul savers really doesn't do anything, except waste your time. FA blasting away NPCs with the Y remove flag. Again, the offering and powerful weapon combo, so great in 99% of the game. There are really just a few situations where it doesn't really benefit you, and Rexol is probably top of that list. Fortunately, Rexol himself, not super dangerous, to this party at least. The Soul Savers themselves just cast Reflect. They really don't do much at all. Again, except for waste your time with their long animations. Rexol has extremely high magical defense. He is technically weak to ice, but his defense is so high that ice sort of does normal damage, and everything else does a pittance. Jex not getting super lucky with these dice throws. Oh, that's a decent one. Meanwhile, Jefe is in Albrook, still checking shops, still checking treasure. He wants more. And you know, it's so hard not to loot in Worlds Collide. You know, any chest could be that Illumina, that Ragnarok, that Minerva.
Alright.
Anyway, Jex is through. Hey, finds a character. Finds Mog, who has the Steel Command. Again, Command's not going to be super strong in this seed, and finds Air Force at the end of it. Air Force, another boss that doesn't really play nice with offering attacks. You really want to focus everything at the main body. Laser gun and missile bay, not as big of a factor. And of course, if you take down those secondary enemies on Air Force's main body, he can launch a spec, which is a little spec, more or less, that will absorb magic. Luckily for Jex, getting that flare cast off. There's the spec, before the spec shows up. Spec also has extremely high defense, but doesn't really matter when you're swinging Valiant Knives that ignore defense. And now we get that sweet Magitek theme as Jefe working his way through the Magitek factory. Again, interesting to see if he makes that decision to go all the way through the 3 checks. I suspect that he will, because again, both runners really looking for more characters early on to open up more of the world and, of course, fulfill those requirements. And in fact, it seems very likely that our runners are about to swap places, with Jefe working through Magitek and Jex possibly working through Strago's Burning House. Taking a look at Espers on Jex's screen. There are a few decent ones, nothing really mind-blowing. Certainly, there are a few spells you always want to see. And haven't really seen any of those so far. Obviously, Flare is a great spell, but, you know, would love a Fire 3, a Mute, Life 2, Life 3, things of that nature. So, Esper's fairly middle of the road so far. But I'm sure that will change. We do have 16 of them to collect. Jefe, meanwhile, taking care of these stooges, casting ice on the ice stooge. Probably had that targeted on Curly up top. But it looked like Fixed Dice took out 2 stooges at once. And again, love to see those sweet sniper procs. Jex now doing a bit of shopping. Grabbed a stack of sleeping bags, something you're always happy to see. Should take care of his healing from check to check. Also has Mega Elixirs for sale. Doesn't quite have the cash for one of those, but can be good to know. And yeah, looks like Jex is gonna sell some gear, probably buy another snow muffler. As Jefe is belatedly putting commands on his go-go. I think he was running just a mimic-only go-go for a while there.
I haven't been paying attention. I'll get to you in just
But with a few more spells known, of course, Go-Go knows all the spells that anyone else in the party knows, as befits a mimic. So it'll be good to have some magical power on him as Jex heads into the Inn of Thamasa, takes a night's rest for a single gold piece, and wakes up in a burning house. Meanwhile, Jefe finds the boss you never want to find, Magimaster. And Sniper, one of those weapons that does not ignore defense, so now you see what a normal attack looks like against Magimaster. He's going to be relying on Strago and those fixed dice to take on this boss. Of course, does have GP Rain, also a defense-ignoring attack. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but it does some damage. Will certainly do more than Celis capturing a crystal orb.
I mean, you can't really hurt me, so that's a good thing. But
That's fun.
let's do this.
Does have that Flare spell. Flare, of course, ignores defense as well. That's a nice chunky hit from Strago and his dice, so doing a lot of work there. And he's gone. Poof! Always funny. Magimaster can be such a difficult fight. Can be a real gauntlet. And then when he dies, he doesn't even do the boss animation. He just puffs out, which is always very satisfying to see. And Jefe as well, making the decision to head to the third Magitek factory check, which means we get another dose of minecart madness.
Business and let them be. Just my stepdad was
And of
not
course,
very smart, man.
Jefe will be very happy to find
But, one thing he
Mog
did
at
say
the end
was
of
very smart, and
this
that
check.
is, he
Will
who
have to
hungers you
grapple with
controls you. Meaning,
Rexel,
if somebody
though it
makes you
seems
mad
he's...
and they're able to control your emotions. They
Well, I was
have
going to say he's
control
less
over
reliant on
you.
offering than
That really sucks.
Jex, but that's actually not true. They both have 2 offerings and
So
2
for
offering
me,
users.
I'm not
So he'll be
perfect. I
doing,
still get frustrated. I still get angry.
Some dancing with RNG, hoping most of the attacks hit Rexel, and not those time-wasting soul savers. They save your soul and waste your time.
People trying to attack you personally.
Meanwhile, Jex, working through the burning house. These random encounters in the burning house, not very dangerous, and do give a fair chunk of XP. I think all of the dinosaurs in the game are pretty generous with XP rewards, though Jex more interested in speed than experience. Smoke bombs out of that fight, sneaks past the other blazes, and heads upstairs to take on his first Ultros battle. I believe this is Ultros 3. Would be easier to tell if we were listening to Jex's music, but instead we're listening to the jaunty sounds of Jefe taking a ride on an underground mine rail. And of course we get to hear those satisfying sniper procs as well. Always enjoy those. Jex finding the Palador Esper. Jefe finding Rexol. Should have, yeah, Ice 3 on Celas. Didn't point out, Celas comes with natural magic, much like vanilla Celas. So,
Wow, that didn't do that.
happy to see natural magic appear on someone who functions as a magic user.
That did.
But, oof. Jefe with the hot dice takes down Rexol much more quickly than Jex did. So, gets through that with a minimum of fuss. Jex now heading to the Opera House, taking on the last of Celas' checks for him. And we know he will not find a character there. We'll find an Esper. We see Jefe finding Mog, his first new character.
With steel and no magic power. And, yeah.
Getting a look at Mog's status screen again, not a surprise that neither of our runners are interested in adding Mog to the party. Again, the Steel command, not going to do a lot for you. Of course, Celas already has Capture, which is Steel but slightly better. Stats looked pretty low. I'm not sure what the flag is on this seed for character stats, but they do appear to be randomized a bit, and Mog was not randomized very well, so looks like he'll be hanging on the airship. As Jefe's making use of that gem box to double flare Air Force, and down it goes.
Dude, that is amazing. I am so happy to hear that.
So Flare showing its worth once again. Mog is part of the team.
Like, seriously, I'm really excited.
For both runners. In fact, both runners are almost completely tied, I think. I mean, as we can see on the tracker below, they both have 5 characters. They both have 5 Espers. Jex will be earning a 6th after he takes on Umaro on the main stage of the Opera House. But Jefe is doing Mog's check. Gonna head to the storehouse, trigger Lone Wolf, and chase him all the way up the cliffs of Narsh.
Affect it much, but they do affect it.
As Jex is taking on Umaro, the Incredible Dabbing Yeti.
My blood, or because of
And
my medicine.
every single party member absorbs ice. So that is, oof, and 9k from the dice. My goodness, this poor Yeti. Show mercy.
Naturally lowers it just a hair. And I don't know why.
And he is down.
Has an effect on anything, really.
So that will be an Esper for Jex. Jefe heading up the cliffs of Narsh.
Be careful.
We'll do Mog's check. We'll also get to peek the Kefka and Narsh check.
A lot of people really like those.
So, not exactly 2 checks for the price of 1, because Kefka and Narsh is
Hell, I used to really like those.
a bit of a slog. Much easier when you know how to dodge the soldiers, which of course both these runners do, both very talented runners. We do get to peek whether it's a character, it is an Esper, or of course a dead check at Kefka and Narsh. But Jefe is intrigued, so in he goes. Going to be able to use Mog as the 5th character to round out the 2nd team, which will of course see no action in the Kefka and Narsh battle. We get our first glimpse of the Mad Clown himself.
I mean, if you're in pain,
Get to take on...
killers are for, you know.
Well, of course, in the vanilla game, you get to fight Kefka, and it is, in my opinion, extremely satisfying. But obviously, bosses are randomized here in this Worlds Collide randomizer. Could be anyone. But we'll get to watch Jefe dodge between the 2 waves of soldiers as Jex looks like
things that you wouldn't
Oh,
necessarily
soldier skip,
think
soldier skip.
about
Nice,
make a
very
big
slick.
difference,
Soldier
but they
skip.
actually
Always
do
like to
make a
see
big
that.
difference.
And finds a flame eater, which is not going to present too much problem. Of course, flame eater weak to ice, so yeah, that ice 3 spell is going to be super effective. Jex, meanwhile, working his way up Mount Zozo, again making use of Y NPC remove to remove the invisible NPC blocking the door, and he's going to do some looting here on Mount Zozo. May even take on a dragon. Wouldn't that be fun to see? Flame Eater already down to the power of Ice 3, Tier 3 magic. So powerful. Really, really fortunate for our runners that the natural magic RNG gifted Ice 3 to sell us.
No, Kefka and Narsh isn't free lunch, but the Mog.
Jefe finding the stray Esper for his troubles, so
I'm still gonna
our
do
runners
it
tied
anyway,
again
but
with 5 characters, 6 Espers.
shouldn't have
Jex
come
taking
up
on a
with
dragon.
this
It is the
fair
gold
rather
dragon.
than the Esper, but I'll take the
Sort of looks like a yellow dinosaur, if you ask me, but you know, it calls itself the gold dragon. Who am I to judge? Jefe makes his way all the way to the top of Narsh, finds another non-character.
I don't remember if Mog is a free check or not, because
So we'll see if it
you
is
have to climb all
an
the way up
Esper.
the mountain, and I think that counts as like not free.
Ooh, he
lunch.
could take the Atlas Armlet.
I guess
Makes the wise choice not to take the Atlas Armlet. Picks the hopeful Esper instead. And in fact, it is a second gem box.
It's alright, I got some good magic. I might be able to use
Props to Jefe for using the first one. I would be surprised if he uses 2 X-Magic users in his party, but who knows? You know, it's obviously a valid choice, especially with some of those powerful attack spells he has. Meanwhile,
Real, man, me too.
Gold Dragon begins to store energy.
I've been hungry all morning. I've just been trying to.
Let's see if Jex can take down this dragon, and he does.
Now I've got like
So props to Jex taking on the first dragon of this seed. Dragons are not required in this seed to beat the game, but they are very rewarding fights, both in experience and in an endgame item. In this case, it is a Pearl Lance. So a nice boost to Jex, and of course we get to find out what is at the top of Mount Zozo.
So unless I get trapped.
Checking out those beautifully made silk flowers that Cyan lovingly crafted when he was hiding away here on the top of Mount Zozo in the vanilla game. Jex finds a piece of magicite. So still only 5 characters, and the list of checks is narrowing down in terms of finding new characters. Jefe heading to the Fanatics Tower, looks like. Ah, finds Shadow.
I'm going to do floating combat.
Brainwashed by the Fanatics.
Let's go.
Hopefully will be saved by Jefe and his party, and he's going to make the long climb up these stairs.
If he does, good on him. If he doesn't, oh freaking well.
Find some dragon boots, which would go great with the Pearl Lance that Jex found. Otherwise, don't expect to see the Pearl Lance to get a lot of use. And now Jex is making the play to go to the Coliseum. Interesting. Looks like he is going to grab a dragon horn. Jex making the call that even with the nice gear he's found already, you know, there's no such thing as too much gear, so why not try your luck against these very, hopefully manageable Coliseum fights and earn some lucrative rewards. Meanwhile, Jefe finding the white dragon, and I believe this is a vanilla dragon location. Always fun to see. Of course, in the Fanatics Tower, you can only use the magic command, so good thing he has that flare spell. He's going to be dropping flares on the white dragon. Of course, if he had the mute spell, he could render this fight basically unlosable by muting the white dragon, but I don't believe he has that in his arsenal at the moment. Meanwhile, on Jex's screen, Strago doing those Coliseum things. When your party member is under AI control, they love to do anything but attack. So Strago has vanished himself, has muddled the bogey.
Need you to die, White Dragon.
Is in certainly no danger of losing this fight. Hey, and there's the attack. Down it goes. Jex earns a Dragon Horn. I did also see Experience Eggs as a possible reward. See if he chases one of those.
Really?
And another Paladin Shield. Even the Coliseum rewards are stacked in this seed. Wow.
I don't even think I need the dragon. I just want to kill it.
You know, maybe there is such a thing as too much good gear. That is wild. I don't think I've ever seen 3 Paladin Shields in a seed. And yet here we are. Maybe we'll see a 4th. Why not? Also, you got your Ragnaroks in there. You got your Cat Hoods, Atma weapons. every great piece of gear our runners haven't already found is in the Coliseum. So I wonder if Jex will even check treasure chests after this. What else could he possibly need? White Dragon down for Jefe. Flared him to death. Will reap the rewards again in experience and in a sweet piece of gear.
Yeah,
Not that they even need
really
it.
Need Berserk. I haven't even checked my espers. I probably could have gotten Berserk right there, but
Finds a red cap.
let's see.
The definition of meh, to be honest. Helmet equipment really doesn't move the needle a lot in Final Fantasy VI. Red cap is a good one, but will not do nearly as much for these runners as the Paladin Shield, Minervas, Snow Mufflers, and whatnot have. I worry a little bit for Jex that he may be getting a little too greedy and spending a bit too much time here in the Coliseum. Obviously, having high-end gear can make future, boss fights, future checks that much faster. And, to be honest, he probably knows this game better than I do, so
right now,
I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But again, he can't even equip all these Ragnaroks he picked up. Jefe, meanwhile, made it to the top of Fanatic's Tower, finds an Ice Shield, a lovely piece of gear that is sadly overshadowed by the ridiculous pieces of gear we've already found, but we will get to find the boss waiting for us here at the top of the tower. Fortunately, we know it will not be the Magimaster, so will be anything easier than that, but we will have to see. Jex making a quick stop in Nikea, see if there's anything worth buying there. I struggle to think of what else Jex could even want.
I've been to El Paso.
Meanwhile, Jefe finds LOL Tunnel Armor. This will not be a long fight. Tunnel Armor is only not the easiest boss in the game because Leader exists. And Leader is, of course, a unlosable plot boss. Well, I guess not technically unlosable.
Wow, that was easier not to
But yeah, that's really Tunnel Armor in a nutshell right there. Down he goes. Jefe will be very happy to find Shadow at the bottom of the Fanatic's Tower,
for my anniversary.
after he, of course, makes the long walk all the way down the Fanatic's Tower to get him. Jex is turning Lock into Dragoon Lock. That's fun to see. Making use of that Pearl Lance he found. Decides Dragoon Lock will outperform Offering Lock. I personally always like to see Dragoon builds. I think the jump command is very fun. I think it is by no means underpowered. Certainly a Dragoon build is just as viable endgame as an Offering build.
Because I can do it quickly.
Jex clearly feels the same, and happy to see it.
Kill Magic Plus, I think they're for sale.
Of course, now has to do all of the tricky equipment juggling, and is now working through another Strago check. My personal least favorite check in the game. Jexvrok. It is a RNG fiesta of teleporting around different darkened rooms in a cave looking for, 22 pieces of coral to feed a mysterious chest monster who eats coral, and then you're rewarded with a boss fight. It is not the hardest check in the game. It's certainly not the longest check in the game. It is just, I think, the most random check in the game, and can be the most frustrating check in the game. Meanwhile, Jefe finding Shadow. We get a good look at Shadow. He has above average magic power, pretty piddly strength, and of course a quote-unquote weak skill command. And looks like Jefe says, no thanks, happy with the party as is. Though, of course, does unlock Shadow's checks, which are some very enjoyable checks, I think. Has Gao's Manor, which is a free check. Has Cave on the Veldt, which is a check that you can sneak a peek at before you go there. And, of course, has the Floating Continent, which is a sort of series of checks, really. Has several boss fights, several random encounters, several rewards possible, and I think it's just a fun part of the game, and it looks like that's where Jefe is going. So setting up his party, again, looks like he's going to stick with the starting four. Almost said something else. Starting four, and is going to take on the Imperial Air Force and tackle some of these random encounters. Meanwhile, Jack's still in coral purgatory, looking for... Oh, looks like he has all the coral he needs. Hands it to the weirdo talking chest, approaches the boss fight, and takes on old Daddy Llama.
I don't know.
Dadaluma is an interesting boss, one of the easier bosses, so I hope Jex doesn't take him down too quickly, because Dadaluma actually has, I think, the most complicated boss script in the game. He has several different phases, he has several different attacks, he has moves that trigger off of a certain number of your attacks. It's pretty complicated stuff. He can call goons, he can throw weapons at you, he can heal himself. If only he didn't die so easily. But yes, Big Daddy Llama is down, Jex is through. The heck that is Jexvrok, and we will get to discover his reward as Jefe is working through, look like some pretty manageable random encounters. Jex does find another character. Jex up to 6 now, and he finds a pretty good one. He finds Edgar. Edgar, natural magic lore and some decently high strength. That would be a tempting person to add to the party, particularly because Edgar works so well as a dragoon. But it's possible. We are, of course, over an hour into this seed. Wow, time has flied. Over an hour in, and at this point it's pretty likely that both our runners are going to stick with the party they have, as we saw Sniper doing sniper stuff on Jefe's screen, taking out Narapa. So that is one boss fight down, gets a free mid-air health refill, and now the second boss of this section of the Floating Continent are the Tentacles. Tentacles can be very scary early on, particularly if you have fewer than 4 party members. They can, snatch 1 or 2 of you, drain them, kill them, and then you're in the seize cycle. You get knocked out, you have to restart. Don't think that will happen here. Much like the Stooges, much like other enemies in this game, every tentacle is strong and weak to a particular element. Ooh, as we see, getting double seized there. Fortunately not a big deal, because he has 2 other party members. One of them is Lock with the Offering, hitting for big damage. And that's Tentacles down.
Gun charge here, I don't understand. Minor in possession.
Pretty nice experience rewards there.
That doesn't make
again,
because if you're,
I blinked and missed it. We are over an hour in. Jefe landing on floating content, finding, hey, best girl Terra.
It's 18 to have a rifle.
Be interesting to see
So yeah,
if
you're
Terra
under 18,
is
but I guess you can be 17 and be considered an adult in the eyes of the law. So
tempting. Apparently not. I saw not great stats there. Of course, vanilla Terra has the second highest magic stat in the game. Can do great. Slinging magic spells, has a great pool of equipment to pull from, and obviously there is some great equipment here on offer. But I think showed up just a bit too late. Jefe, taking out a monster in a box. Finding Lobo, which he will quickly take down. Rewarded with, what is it, a potion? Oh, I guess it's just experience. Anyway, Jex made his way to the top of Fnatic's tower, found that ice shield, found this tunnel armor, is flaring the tunnel armor into very small, charred tunnel pieces, and we'll be very excited to pick up Shadow at the end of all this. One thing to point out about Flare, it is an extremely powerful spell, it is a non-elemental spell, it is an extremely useful spell, it is an extremely slow spell. So in a race setting like this, these runners would probably like to use Flare as little as possible. If they found, again, some of the tier 3 spells, obviously Ice 3 is great. They can, target enemy weaknesses and cast spells that just have a little shorter casting animation just to finish up fights that little bit quicker and gain that little bit of an edge. And with runners as talented as these two are, that little edge may make the difference. Jefe quickly approaching the second check of the floating continent, going to take on another boss fight, unless he can Y remove it. Is that possible? I guess not. And finds Welk. Hey! The very first boss in the vanilla game. And actually one of those bosses that is a little annoying when you're swinging with offerings. Because you want to hit the head, you don't want to hit the shell. Jex, meanwhile, very happy to find Shadow. Again, unlikely to add him to the party, but you never know. Oh, in fact, doesn't even check Shadow. Not interested. So, safe to say that, Jex is locked in with his final party. It will indeed be the starting party. Jefe takes down Welk. So, wave goodbye to the snail, and we'll see what Jefe finds here in this second floating continent check. It cannot be a character, but it can be an Esper. It is, in fact, Shiva. It is Shiva with Life 3. A spell you're always happy to find. We get our second sighting of Kefka here at the floating continent. And I suspect we will see Jex heading to the floating continent sooner rather than later, as Jefe is now fleeing the now falling continent, slowly breaking apart. We'll have to take on some fixed encounters here. They are steroidites. You don't see those every day. A boss reskin. But steroidite meet sniper. Say goodbye to steroidite. Fun name too. But yes, indeed, Jex, starting floating continent as Jefe is ending it, finds Orogs. Those are less friendly enemies. They can zombify your party. Zombify, or zombie rather, is a very annoying status. Luckily, they're dead, thanks to Strago and his hot dice. Hey, Why Remove shows up once again. Don't even have to fight the boss here at the Floating Continent Escape. Just Why Remove it. And Jefe with another Esper under his belt. That would be 8, which, believe it or not, is only halfway there. There is still a whole lot of seed left for us here now, almost an hour, 10 minutes in. And Jefe, having found Terra on the Floating Continent, looks like is heading to one of Terra's checks, the Welk Cave, which of course will not hold Welk, but could hold something else. Does not hold a new character.
Should have saved.
But does hold Ultros! Hey! There's our boy. This is Ultros 4, I believe. So, yep, there we see Chupan show up. Bonus points in the comments if anyone can tell us what Chupan is.
All right.
He's a fire ghost boy? I have no idea. I know he does have allergies because at the end of the fight he will sneeze the entire party away. And there he goes, making this the only boss fight in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide that does not award any experience. But it does reward the Golem Magicite, and once you've completed Terra's check, you can pick up the item that you refused from the weapon store owner in Ruined Narsh. Remember, way back at the beginning of this seed, there was a choice between V-Knife and Fixed Dice. Jefe took the dice, and now he picks up another V-Knife. Jex, meanwhile, falling through the air. Actually falling through the air with his Dragoon Lock. Saw the power of fully built Dragoon there. But takes out the tentacles. We'll be landing on the Floating Continent. We'll be finding that Terra. And we'll be basically hot on Jefe's heels.
Let's see if there's anything in here worth getting.
Looks like Jefe also going to the Coliseum. I am very surprised. I mean, with all the gear they found already, certainly have not had too many problems dealing with bosses, but Boogie casting the Oogie Boogie command, whatever that is, didn't seem to have a great effect. Lock casting X Zone to be rid of the Boogie, always fun to see. X Zone, a very cool spell. So yeah, picks up that Dragon Horn. I guess he could pick up... Oh, it would seem he doesn't have the item to pick up another Experience Egg. Is going to grab a Cat Hood. And again, Sniper doing sniper things. So effective against floating enemies. And again, there are many more floating enemies than you think, including enemies who don't look like they float at all. Enemies with 2 feet on the ground can occasionally be floating enemies. It would seem, however, Jefe does not have some of the items that Jex had, so is unable to wager for Experience Eggs or, I think, Ragnaroks. Meanwhile, Jex taking on Welk here on the Floating Continent. Launch his lock into the air. Love to see the Dragoon build. And just has Gogo chucking dice without fear. And really, you don't have to worry too much about hitting the shell. Well, when you can kill Welk in one attack, you certainly don't have to worry about the shell. But again, no, don't have to worry too much about hitting the shell when you're as leveled up as our runners are. Again, Welk is an early game boss, is in vanilla, the first boss in the game, so it doesn't scale super hard. No problem for Jex.
Yeah, save. It should never save.
Looks like Jefe also going to do a bit of
Doesn't matter, but it did.
sequence breaking. Going to head up Mount Zozo without Cyan, as Jex runs into these big old stereotypes. Still checking chests. Hard to resist, particularly in Mount Zozo. Those of you who played the vanilla game, I remember Mount Zozo is the first place that you find some elemental shields. I'm pretty sure you find a first Thunder Shield in Mount Zozo. So I know when playing the vanilla game, I'm always excited to crack open the chests here. There may even be more than one elemental shield, now that I think about it. So hard to break the habit in Worlds Collide to crack open those chests, even though, of course, they are all random. Jefe decides to skip the dragon, not interested in the experience rewards, not interested in what we know to be a Pearl Lance at the end of it. Just Y removing some flowers in his way and finding the Esper here at the top. Jex, meanwhile, has finished with the floating continent and would seem to be following in Jefe's footsteps to knock out Terra's check over at the Welk Cave. Love Cyan's theme as well. Music in this game is just, so good. But I'm sure you already know that because you are here watching Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. Obviously you have some enjoyment with Final Fantasy VI. Oh, interesting. Jefe, that is a Y remove logic break I didn't know about. You can go to Ruined Zozo and take care of Terra's World of Balance Zozo check. Well, that's fun. Zozo also a very unique area of the game. An area that I like quite a bit. It's fun sort of hopping around this rain-slicked urban jungle gym, going from tower to tower, climbing up the stairs. And I believe this is another boss that you can Y-remove skip. So another fairly painless check for Jefe. It goes poof. Jex has to make the hard call between a relic he will never use or a piece of Magicite. Let's see what he chooses. Jefe finding the Phantom Esper at the top of Zozo. So we are, I guess, inching ever closer to that Esper requirement. Again, 8 characters, 16 Espers, unless you want to skip to the end of Kefka's Tower, which would require 12 characters and 18 Espers. In the latest version of Worlds Collide, we added a option to add a skip through Kefka's Tower, which, as I'm sure you well know, is a very long dungeon. Well worth its title of Final Dungeon.
Absolutely.
But I think it's unlikely that either of these runners is going to collect 12 characters, 18 Espers. Jefe, meanwhile, working through ruined Mobliz, checking with the little girl hiding away in the basement to see what the reward is ahead of time. Mobliz is one of those checks that you get to sneak a peek at before. Does want the Siren Esper and will take on Funbaba first, and then whatever boss comes after that. Jexvrok, meanwhile, is going to apply Ice 3 to Flame Eater to delete Flame Eater. Some middling rolls from Strago on Jefe's screen. That is sort of why a lot of runners prefer to get off of fixed dice at some point in the run. Eventually, with enough levels, with enough HP, something like a Valiant Knife or Atma Weapon will be much more consistent damage than the fixed dice, and on average, more damage as well. But we'll see how long Jefe sticks with Setzer and his slinging dice as we find number 128. One of the Magitek factory bosses, made of 3 parts, but both arms are down, and now the main body is down. And that will be a Siren Esper as reward for Jefe. There are a few Espers in this game that you're always happy to see, regardless of what magic or stats they come with. Jefe has 2 of them. One is Siren, and the other is Golem. Siren, when you cast it as an Esper, will mute all of the enemies you're fighting, which is extremely useful for the final battle. There is one enemy that you really like to mute. And the Golem Esper, when cast as an Esper, will provide a physical shield for all your party members that absorbs physical attacks, which is extremely useful in the final battle as well. Jefe having 2 of those Espers, really the 2 that you want to see, will have great peace of mind as he approaches the final battle and takes on final Kefka to finish off what has been, I think, a pretty exciting seed so far. Jex now also finding Golem after getting sneezed away by Chupan. Also picking up that V-Knife in the pack of the Welk Cave. Golem also has Life 2, which is always a useful spell to have. As we see Jefe working through the Cave in the Veldt, another one of Shadow's checks, which will reward another Esper. As Jex buys a Genji glove. I was actually just thinking the one piece of gear that these runners don't have is a Genji glove, but now Jex has it. Meanwhile, oh my goddess, it's the goddess fight. This is the second statue that we've encountered in this seed. Remember Doom way back when. And now Goddess here. Goddess will sling a bunch of bolt magic, which shouldn't be too much of a problem with our very well-geared party here. And in fact, Celis absorbs lightning damage. Goddess can also charm one of your party members if they do a physical attack. And if you wait too long, Goddess will cast a very scary ability called Overcast, which counts down 1 minute, and if you don't take her down by then, you're zombified. Ah, and there we see, Locke has been charmed, must protect his Goddess. Though I guess that doesn't apply to Fixed Dice Offering, so Strago still able to put in work, and indeed does the work, takes down Goddess, before too much could get out of hand there. So that is 2 statues under Jefe's belt, and 2 statues with really a minimum of trouble, as Jex also removing the boss at the top of Zozo, also finding that Phantom Magicite. Oh! Jefe deleting Interceptor. Bye-bye, doggo. Jex right behind Jefe, as he sort of has been for a fair bit of this seed. working through the Cave of the Veld. But for Jefe... taking on Jexvrok.
Please be kind.
We'll find... we'll be very happy to find Edgar at the end of that. So it's really impossible to call who is ahead in this race. I would venture to say they are almost completely tied. They have obviously they have the same party. They don't have quite the exact same party makeup, and you know, that will obviously have a huge impact on how these runners work through boss fights. But in terms of checks, in terms of progression, they are basically tied. Jex is going to take on Goddess, and if he can do so, he will be tied with Jefe on Espers. Jefe will work his way through the awful Jexvrok, and if he does so, he will be tied on characters. So I think it's going to be a tight race. It's going to be a tight finish here, as we see Strago on Jex's screen swinging the Atma weapon. Love that weapon. We see Gogo was love tokened, so Celis swinging at Goddess, but hitting Gogo, because Gogo is now sworn to protect her. But again, bypassing that with Fixed Dice Offering. Dropping some pretty big hits. Down she goes. Jefe finds Daddy Llama. Secretly the most interesting boss in the game, but sadly, never gets the respect he's due because he is made of tissue paper. As we see Dadaluma healing himself for a grand total of 550 hit points. It's immediately gone, and I think he's going to get diced out of existence with Strago's hot hand. And down he goes. So Jefe is a short cutscene away from being tied with Jex. Jex now heading to Ruined Mobilis, which we know to be the Siren Esper. We'll likely do the sneak peek first. Yes, indeed. Why not? Oh, little girl, I think Jex is going to take Siren away. But it'll be more interesting to see where Jefe goes next. He does have Edgar in the party, can work through Edgar's checks. They are, unsurprisingly, all based out of Figaro Castle. So they are conveniently located, and it seems like he is heading that direction. With both our runners at 8 characters, and both our runners at 13 Espers, we are only 3 Espers away from Go Mode. So, in theory, Jefe could knock out 3 of Edgar's checks, pick up 3 Espers, and be good to go for Kefka's Tower. However, the first check of Figaro Castle will be Cyan, who has some pretty decent checks in his own right, though of course both runners have already done Mount Zozo via sequence breaking. A hop over the turtle, and a short walk through these twisty caves. And Jefe will pop up in Figaro Castle. Jex, meanwhile, taking on number 128. We see Dragoon Lock putting in work. Those are some big numbers. Love to see a Dragoon build pop off. And that is a dead boss for Jex. That will be his 14th Esper, the oh-so-useful Siren Esper. And we will see what Jefe will face here in the engine room of Figaro Castle to add Cyan to his team. And it is Kefka. Kefka and Narsh Kefka. Should make short work of this version of Kefka. In fact, yeah, he runs away like the cowardly clown he is. Not even checking Cyan's stats, no point at this stage of the game. Is still checking a few treasure chests though, so hard to resist. Cracking open treasure chests. And we'll see if Jefe works his way through the rest of Edgar's checks here around Figaro Castle. As once again, Jex is hot on his heels, doing the same.
Pretty sure this qualifies as free progression, but I'm going to get it anyway.
Jefe taking a peek at the throne room, finds yet another offering, because, why not? And Jefe choosing not to do the third of Edgar's Figaro Castle checks, not heading down to the ancient castle underground. Instead is heading over to a very popular check in the Worlds Collide community, Cyan's Dream. It is arguably the most efficient check in the game. It will give 3 rewards for 2 boss fights. Of course, there is a fair bit of walking around inside the dream, inside Cyan's head, I guess. But if these 3 checks, again, if there are 3 espers, Jefe is a happy man. Jex, meanwhile, finds Kefka in the engine room. Lock hops in the air. Strago's swinging that lightsaber. And Kefka runs away. The Atma weapon, which Strago has equipped on Jex's screen, is a much better item in Worlds Collide than it was in the vanilla game. It scales off of level, scales quite hardly, or quite strictly on level. And in the vanilla game, it really didn't start working until you get to level 64, which no one gets to level 64 unless you spend hours grinding. In Worlds Collide, it reaches its potential at level 32, and only gets stronger from there. So it is a very strong weapon, one of those weapons that breaks the weapon damage formula. So obviously pairs great with Offering, looks super cool. Certainly one of my favorite weapons. I love a good Atma Offering build. And now, for the first time in a while, we have a bit of divergence, as Jefe is taking on Guardian, who is a Kefka's Tower boss, and not a pushover, but is mostly known for its huge HP pool. As Jex is heading underground to the ancient castle. This is the Edgar check that Jefe skipped. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anything juicy down here as Guardian goes down. Jefe takes down the first boss of Cyan's Dream. And ooh, Jefe finds Magicite, Jex finds Umaro the Yeti, and you know, we all love Umaro, but not at this stage of the game. A 10th character is not what Jex is looking for. Awesome. On Jefe's screen, we can see that the figure hopping from train to train in Cyan's head is not a character, so it will be an Esper, which is good news for Jefe.
Hey, I found some boots.
Jex, meanwhile, has to make the long walk out of the ancient castle check.
Now I can have a jump.
Could certainly do
a fixed dice, even better.
Jefe finding another pair of fixed dice because I'm running out of adjectives to describe the loot that we have found in this seed. Ridiculous doesn't even do it justice. So sure, yes, why not? More fixed dice. Maybe every chest in the rest of the game will be fixed dice. Fixed dice and more offerings. You can actually have too many offerings. That's if you have more offerings than you have characters. Which, you know, I wouldn't put it past this seed at this point. Anyway, Jex, leaving Figaro Castle. It is very likely that he's going to head to Cyan's Dream, but is in fact heading to ruined South Figaro first.
Come on.
I struggle to think of what he wants to buy that he doesn't already have. More earrings, perhaps? Hero rings? Not sure, but looks like Jex is making the Yeti play. Ooh, is he heading up the cliffs of Narsh once again? After deleting that scholar, of course. Jefe has made it through Cyan's Dream to the second boss, which is Atma Weapon. Again, sweet Sniper Proc has Dragoon Strago now. I do really enjoy... Oof! Oh, the sniper. Oh wow, Atma casting Goner. This is something Final Kefka casts. It is very cool looking. It is not as damaging as it looks.
Yeah, about that.
But does tell us that Jefe, and I'm sure Jex as well, are scaled all the way if certain bosses are casting endgame attacks. Try to get a glimpse of Jefe's levels when we can. Meanwhile, Jex has made it up the cliffs of ruined Narsh, dodging that dragon. Doesn't want to take any dragon fights at this point. Finds Senor Behemoth.
Let's go. Ain't got time.
Also, please leave a comment if you have any idea what the SR in SR Behemoth stands for. I'm pretty sure it's Senor, but lots of people have different ideas.
Alright, go mode.
And that is Jefe's 16th Esper, so he is in go mode. Not going to pick up the extra characters and Espers required to skip a big chunk of Kefka's Tower. Certainly not worth the time it would take. Is just going to go with Go-Go. And certainly has everything he needs to cut through Kefka's Tower. Jex, meanwhile, picking up an Esper from Senor Behemoth. Great news for him is hoping that this will be an Esper as well. I believe it cannot be a character. I don't think we saw a character peeking out lower down in the Narsh Cliffs, so hoping this is an Esper, not a dead check. It is indeed an Esper. So this is going to be very, very close. This is very exciting. Jefe doing some last-minute shopping, just want to make sure he's all stocked up, has more money than he could ever possibly spend, so why not buy 999 potions? Jex, meanwhile, running into, ooh, piranhas.
Alright, let's go.
Again, one of those fights that, not dangerous, just annoying, and especially annoying when Jex knows that this is the last Esper he needs before he can get into KT. These piranhas will keep appearing for a random amount of time, I think between like 10 and 90 seconds, until finally the boss piranha shows up. And there he is. So that wasn't too painful of a wait, but as we see, Jefe is already above Kefka's Tower, about to hop in. This is going to be a very, very close race, a very exciting finish. As we see Jefe split up into 3 parties to take on the 3 different paths you must take in Kefka's Tower. Kefka's Tower, again, is the final dungeon, and it is a beast of a dungeon at that. It is physically just a very large dungeon. It takes a lot of time to traverse. It has, what is it, I think 5 bosses, an optional boss, 2 optional dragons, a boss gauntlet at the end of it, and then, of course, at the end of that is the final battle itself, which is also a 4-phase mega battle, if you will. So, Final Fantasy VI definitely saving the best for last, and it's going to be a very exciting endgame as we see Jex is entering KT as well. So it's really all going to be down to sort of what characters they choose to take on these 3 different paths, and, you know, an execution, and maybe a little bit of RNG. So it's going to be exciting. Jefe with just a little bit of a head start. I think maybe 90 seconds or so. But not a lot of separation, and a lot can happen here in KT. I'm excited to see it. Of course, one of the benefits of having such high requirements to get to Kefka's Tower, the, again, 8-16, is that all these characters are going to be very high level. So there's really not a whole lot that's going to slow either one of these runners down. You know, we've already seen Magimaster, so that headache is out of the way. We've seen a few other the more frustrating bosses. You know, Doomgaze is still out there, so you never know when the levels add up and Doom casts a level 9 Doom attack that, or sorry, level 5 Doom attack that would wipe out your whole party. Not a problem for Jefe, as we see both Strago and Celas are level 44, so nice high level, putting out a lot of damage, but we'll luckily avoid that. And with all the defense-ignoring, weapon formula-breaking weapons they have at their disposal, there's again, very little that can slow them down. We'll see who the first boss is here in KT. Jefe about to take them on. And it's Ultros! Hey! The boy is back. This is Ultros 2, to be precise, which you usually find in the Opera House. Again, all the Ultros fights, more or less the same. More or less not a challenge. Just fun to see. Look at his big smiling face. Those pointy yellow teeth. And, you know, always fun to see if you can collect all 4 Ultros fights. Working your way through a seed. Jefe is now at 3 out of 4, so fingers crossed we see something fun in that boss gauntlet. But he is through no problem. Jex doing the necessary menuing, tackling with the hardest boss of all, the menu boss, to make sure his 3 separate parties are set up how he needs them to be. I should take this time to mention, if you are enjoying this video, and you probably are because you're over 100 minutes into it, you know, obviously consider checking out both of these runners on Twitch, and consider checking out the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Discord. We have a very active, very fun, very welcoming Discord channel where we play Seeds of the Week. We have a ladder tournament that just ended. We have various events. We do weekly community races. We have a pretty good time, and you know, we're always looking for folks who enjoy Final Fantasy VI and enjoy this, I think, very awesome Worlds Collide randomizer that we get to play with. So check that out, and you know, I guess check out more videos here on YouTube if you'd like as well. Jefe now onto his second boss. It's number 24, sort of Magimaster's little twin brother, Mini-Master, if you will. They share the same sprite, they both cast magic. Ooh, they confuse Celes, and she's about to Ice 3 her own party. Which, funnily enough, because she didn't take damage, she didn't break herself out of that muddle.
Thank you.
There she goes. And again, Jex right behind Jefe. We'll be taking on that number 24 fight.
Come on, slow ass.
Just a few moments. It may really come down to that Piranha fight, to this slim minute or so lead that Jefe has. Jefe checking the validation chest. Really appreciate that. And completes the set of statue bosses with the third statue boss, Poltergeist, aka the Spicy Chicken. Poltergeist is the fire elemental of the three dragons, though interestingly enough is not weak to ice. Is actually weak to poison, but certainly doesn't enjoy getting Ice 3 cast at it. As we see, this Gembox Celes that Jefe has been using all seed. Number 24, meanwhile, not a problem for Jex. He is through that. And again, with all of the elemental protection that both our runners had from the very early game,
The only thing that could
Poltergeist will not be too much of a challenge, and actually, Poltergeist drops the Aura Lance when he's defeated, which is great news for both of the Dragoons that our runners are running with, Strago and Locke, respectively. It's, I suppose, sort of arguable which lance is the quote-unquote better lance for a Dragoon, between Pearl or Aura. But it's definitely between those two, and it's certainly nice to have options. And in fact, here we are with sync boss fights. So, yeah, 1 hour, 47 minutes.
Thank you.
Oof, that was a big hit. 8,000 on Jefe's screen. That's enough to KO the Spicy Chicken.
No problem.
As we see Jex getting a Pearl proc off of the Pearl Lance for pretty significant damage there. Strago swinging that Atma weapon, that very cool lightsaber, and Poltergeist is now down. So again, very, very little separation between these two. As Jefe takes on another branch of this gauntlet, it is Ifrit, the Ifrit and Shiva fight. Now, Celes is the only one that has Ice 3, which I believe she learned naturally. So, maybe a little tricky to damage this Ifrit boss, which really only takes damage from ice spells. I'm surprised that Jefe's Lock isn't slapping on a Valiant Knife or something similar. Instead, we get, hey, GP Rain! Again, Jefe, very good runner, obviously knows that GP Rain, for all its faults, it is a defense-ignoring attack. As on Jex's screen we see he is using 2 defense-ignoring weapons. Oof, getting quad 9s on those fixed dice. Again, fixed dice and Valiant Knife both ignore defense, and that is sync boss kills. This race could not be tighter. This is wild. This is very, very exciting. I mean, again, at this stage, there's the winner of this run is really going to be determined by execution and how they built their characters. That's the only thing separating them. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the map, and we've done it. We've completed the last Infinity Stone. We've collected all 4 Ultroses. Ultros 1, personally my favorite Ultros. It's got the unique sprite, and you really get a close-up of that big smiling mug of his. Sad that he is such an easy boss to deal with, but yeah, 3 statues, 4 Ultroses, 1 hour and 50 minutes, and our runners are neck and neck. This is going to be a very, very exciting final battle. So as we watch a brief cutscene to cue up the final battle, let's break down a few of the more important elements. Again, it is 4 tiers. There are 4 phases. The 4th phase, of course, being Final Kefka himself. Tier 1 is the sort of physical damage phase. It's made up of 3 parts. They all smack you really hard, and they really need to be killed in a certain order if you want to avoid some very painful counterattacks. So you will see both our runners trying to kill the long arm first. You will see in Tier 1, one of the arms is longer than the other. So you'll down long arm first. Phase 2 is when we'll make use of that Siren Esper to cast the oh-so-useful Mute status. And Phase 3 is when that Golem will come into play. But we'll take those as they come. We are here in Phase 1 right now. As we see, there's the face, there's the fist, and there's the long arm, which is the arm that we see more of. But here we go. 151, 40-ish, both runners here in the final battle. Go-Go casting Doom on long arm on Jex's screen. The long arm is vulnerable to instant death, so down that goes. We'll be trying to take out the head next. And Dragoon Lock doing just that. Jefe trying to cast Break on the long arm. Break also a pseudo instant death attack. Still does the job. Strago dropping quad 9s on the head there. My goodness, Dragoon Strago.
Really?
I'm so caught up in the moment, I can't even commentate. It's really, really close. Jex is through Phase 1 first. Is now ascending to the second phase, which is arguably the most complicated phase. It does have the most enemies. There are 4 enemies in this weird conglomerate of writhing bodies, one of which can be instant deathed, one of which can be muted. I suspect we will see both of those moves pulled out from Jex as Jefe is hot on his heels. And there we see Jex queuing up the Siren Esper. The enemy on the far left there is named Magic, unsurprisingly, casts a whole lot of magic, but fortunately is vulnerable to mute, so now Magic will cast no magic. The enemy in the middle that is vulnerable to instant death was instant deathed, and so we're down to really 2 dangerous enemies and 3 in total to chew through. So both these runners, just textbook execution here in Phase 2. I just had an awful thought that what if the winner comes down to fixed dice RNG and who gets the better dice rolls? So Jefe sticking with this sniper offering lock, which you know, it's done work all seed. Love to see sniper showcased. It's not the strongest weapon in the game, but it's certainly it's an A-, and it's very fun, and the sniper procs themselves are oh so satisfying. So love to see that. Also love to see Jex's Dragoon lock falling out of the sky for big numbers. Speaking of numbers, yeah, Jex is hoping for some bigger numbers on his go-go. My goodness, both runners have fixed dice offering go-go. This could not be closer. Both runners have their characters in the same order, no less. Wow. Jex enduring the 10 hits attack. This is the attack that the blue fella does when he dies. That's sort of his death counter. So, you know, true to its name, he punches you 10 times, and then he's gone. Ooh, Jefe gets hit by Northern Cross and gets Cella's frozen, but does also proc the 10 hits attack, so hit is now down on Jefe's screen as well. Looks like it's just this muted magic left, and Jex is through the second phase onto Tier 3. Now this is where that Golem Esper will come in handy. There are 2 enemies in this phase, Sleep and Lady. Lady is that angelic-looking lady. Sleep is the reclining fellow. And you have to kill Lady first, because she has incredible curative magic, and when Sleep dies, he will use the Calmness attack, which is an instant death physical attack. He punches you, and you die. So, you want something like the Golem Esper, which will block physical attacks. Fortunately, both our runners have that. Expect to see Golem cast some point in this fight. Jex's Go-Go getting some good luck. Another quad 9s off the dice, so that's Lady down. And, yeah, just has to dish out the damage to Sleep. Remember to cast Golem when the time is right. In fact, Sleep already dropping Meteo, which is a good sign that he's close to death. Is it possible that I missed it and Jex already cast Golem? I'm bouncing from screen to screen. Oh, another quad 9s on Jefe's screen. He may have not equipped Golem? That would be awful. Jefe also did not cast Golem. And that's what Calmness does. Jefe is down to Locke and Strago. Celis and Gogo got calmed and are out of the fight. So we'll see what Jefe does. He is snuck into the lead here, past Jex, and is ascending into the clouds to the final phase of this fight to take on the Mad Angel, the Clown Prince, the man who destroyed the world, final Kefka. Can Jefe take down Kefka with 2 effective party members before Jex can get there and do it with 4? That is the question. As we see Jex blocking the Calmness attack, will go up there at full strength. This is going to be so close. Oh, the snipes! Oh, the snipes! casting Fallen 1. Everyone is now at 1 hit point, though both runners do have at least one Mega Elixir that they picked up from the Magimaster. Sniper procs, he did like, he's done at least 30,000 damage just with Sniper procs. This could be a lock solo show as we see Strago is down. Here comes the end beyond Chaos. He's charging up for a Goner attack. Which again, Goner, less dangerous than it sounds. Really, this is when you want to attack because Kefka will not counterattack while he's charging up. Hey, there's jefe01 doing work. I think this is the sniper showcase. Other than that, about 2,000 damage from jefe01, everything has been done with snipers. And that was a sniped kill. GG to Jefe. Just under the 2-hour mark, takes down final Kefka with sniper offering lock. Gets the snipe as the final hit. So cool. Great race, great race. Props to Jefe. Especially with just those two characters. Didn't have the calmness protection at the end. So, and really got the worst of it too. Sleep, when he casts Calmness, he can do it once or twice. He doesn't always do it twice. He did it twice on Jefe's screen. But doesn't really matter when you've got Sniper Lock. He was doing certainly over 10k a hit, almost 20k if everything procced. And Jexvrok's right on his heels, just 45 seconds difference. He downs Kefka as well. So
that was definitely a close one.
Jefe says it. That was a very, very close one. I mean, both runners played great. It was very fun to watch. Perfectly executed final battle. I think, other than Jefe with the calmness, but obviously he didn't need the full party to do the work. Very fun seeing a above average requirement seed, I think, with those 8 characters, 16 espers. We really got to see more of the map, got to see a lot more checks. And, even despite all that, both our runners ending less than a minute apart, both taking down final Kefka. GG to both runners. Again, if you like what you saw, please, check out both of our runners on Twitch. Please check out the Worlds Collide channel on Twitch. We do races every week. We do multiple races per week. Check out the Discord if you're so inclined. Or, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to put out a lot more videos. We're really ramping up our YouTube content. So if you enjoyed this, good news, there's more coming. And thanks for watching, and hope you come back soon.